Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
It's a beautiful spring day in Delhi, as good as it can get. But this is also a day when storm clouds are gathering over the BJP government of Trivendra Singh Rawat in Uttarakhand. So by the time you see it, he would have ceased to be the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand and the replacement would have come in. There are many claimants and somebody is the front runner, but let me not mention it because that will get dated. Also, you might ask me that Uttarakhand is a small state. It only sends about 4 MPs to national parliament. Why should we be so bothered? So, if you look at Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, they are states of about the same size. These are hill states. BJP is very strong there. Why should we dedicate a full episode of Katta Clutter to Uttarakhand? That's because it displays a phenomenon. And the phenomenon is that BJP, which is actually a party that is supposed to be very stable, very powerful, with a very strong high command now, very disciplined. It has never been able to give a stable government even in a small state like Uttarakhand, where it has a lot of popular support. So far, it's almost been 20 years since the state was constituted. It was carved out of Uttar Pradesh. In almost 20 years, there has been only one Chief Minister out of 8 in the history of Uttarakhand who has completed a 5-year term, and he was N.D. Tiwari of the Congress party. So from the BJP, very surprisingly, not one Chief Minister has been able to rule for 5 years. In fact, the current one who's on his way out now, Trivendra Singh Rawat, has served the longest. He's been removed 10 days short of completing 4 years. So what is it about the BJP now that in spite of all its power, all its discipline, all of its RSS innate discipline and spirit, I suppose, from the RSS of selflessness, in spite of that, it's not able to get one Chief Minister to last a 5-year term in a small state like this, which is so close to Delhi also, so not out of sight, out of mind. It is not some distant northeastern state. So I will just read out to you the roll of honor on the Chief Minister's office, if there is a board there, in Dehradun. So the state was constituted in 2000, cut out of the Uttar Pradesh, and it was to have its first election within 2 years. So the BJP first appointed Nityanand Swamy as its Chief Minister. But you know what? Even before the first regular election could take place in Uttarakhand, that was about 2 years after it was constituted, BJP had already run through 2 Chief Ministers. So it had Nityanand Swamy from November 10, 2000 to October 29, 2001, which means less than a year, 10 days less than a year. Then Bhagat Singh Koshyari came in. Bhagat Singh Koshyari, now the famous governor of Maharashtra, who famously swore in Devendra Fadnavis's government without a majority at 5:47 a.m. So remember, the governor who will go down in India's constitutional history as somebody who swore in a chief minister without a majority at 5:47 a.m. and after that has had time often to meet Kangana Ranaut, but not as chief minister. Nevertheless, so he became also chief minister in that period. So Nityanand Swamy, then Bhagat Singh Koshyari. Koshyari was there for 5 months and then the first election took place there. That first election in 2002, the Congress won. Narayan Dutt Tiwari became the chief minister. He had been chief minister of a much larger state, UP. He became now chief minister of a state which was about 5% of UP's size. But he lasted a full 5 years, the only honorable man to have lasted 5 years in that chair. After him, in 2007 elections, BJP won the state, and General BC Khanduri, who you might remember was the minister under whom Vajpayee government launched the National Highway Program, a wonderful man, also known to be very non-corrupt and very no-nonsense. So he was made chief minister and everybody said, at least now we have a clean man in Uttarakhand and we can see some positive change there. There was quite a bit of optimism about him, but he didn't last. March 8, 2007 he came in. June 23, 2009 he was gone in just over 2 years. He had gone. In place of him came Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, took over on June 24, 2009. He is now the HRD minister or education minister in the Modi cabinet. A poet, a very nice man. He became chief minister but didn't last. June 24, 2009 he became chief minister. September 10, 2011 he was gone. So less than just over 2 years, which seems to be the ballpark survival rate for BJP chief ministers there. But who came in after that? Came in General Khanduri back, because obviously he was somebody who carried some weight there. But remember, he is a no nonsense person. So as a chief minister, he is not somebody from whom you will expect a lot of give and take. So he became chief minister again, September 11, 2011. He lasted just a few months. March 13, 2012, he was gone, because that is when fresh elections were held. So BJP obviously got desperate that the state did not seem to be in good hands on the eve of the elections, and they had to bring in a more competent chief minister or a more effective chief minister to be able to win the election. That's how they brought General Khanduri in. But BJP did not win the election. The election was won by the Congress party. Congress party won the election, and Vijay Bahuguna, who is also a son of a former chief minister of entire UP, he became chief minister now of a state which, as we mentioned to you, is 4% of entire UP in terms of population, or members of parliament that it contributes to Delhi, 4 to 5%. So Vijay Bahuguna now became chief minister. He was a former high court judge. He did not last for Congress also. So he lasted less than 2 years. And you know what happened to him after that? After that, he joined the BJP. He joined the BJP and just been sitting there. He's been sitting there. So even his sister, Rita Bahuguna, who was the leading light of the Congress party, she also joined the BJP. She is now an MP. But you know what happens with the BJP? That most defectors, when they go to the BJP, they don't get anything for a long time. So this is one political message that you see from this story also. Vijay Bahuguna, he went from Congress to the BJP because he was aggrieved over something. He was expecting something, but now he is there. So the message to a lot of these people is, kindly wait, you are in the queue, this is a recording. So his sister is also waiting. She used to be minister earlier. She is also waiting. She hasn't got very much. And if you see with the BJP, this is a trend. Jyotiraditya Scindia joined the BJP more than a year back. He gifted them the government of Madhya Pradesh. He brought down his former party's government, and he brought in his own loyalists into the BJP, got the BJP to win a majority, then also led the by-election campaign for the people who had left the Congress and got them re-elected. And yet he is waiting for a reward from the BJP. So all he's got so far is a Rajya Sabha seat. So Rahul Gandhi just made a statement yesterday, in fact, that if he was in the Congress party, he was in the front benches, he could have become a chief minister, to which now Jyotiraditya Scindia has replied saying that I wish Rahul Gandhi, he's taunting Rahul Gandhi, he's not saying that I'm missing Rahul Gandhi, he's saying I wish Rahul Gandhi had been so mindful of people like me when we were in the party, in which case we would not have left the party. But the fact is, if you see anybody, most people who've left other parties and come to the BJP have not immediately got rewarded, with the partial exception of Himanta Biswa Sharma in Assam, who even now is for all practical purposes leading the BJP's campaign there. But he was also not made chief minister the last time. The reason he left the Congress was that he thought the Gogois were in his way and he deserved to be chief minister. But the fact is that while he delivered Assam to the BJP, he also delivered all of the Northeast to the BJP. He is the BJP's Grand Vizier or Tsar in the Northeast, and yet he is waiting to become chief minister. Even now, there is no guarantee that if BJP wins in Assam, he will become chief minister. So that is what this phenomenon tells us about the BJP's own mindset. But what about BJP's own leaders? Why are they kept so unstable? In fact, you could then go ahead and say BJP is not just very good at toppling chief ministers from opposition parties, but it's also quite good at toppling its own chief ministers. And if you want to see that, then Uttarakhand is a very good example, and I will give you some more examples, some more states just after that. So after Vijay Bahuguna came in 2014, came in Harish Rawat from the Congress party. Harish Rawat was there for just about 2 years. Then there was a short spell of president's rule, 3 weeks. In fact, you would remember that infamous phase in 2016 when there were 2 phases of president's rule for 3 weeks each. That is when the governor asked for president's rule, cabinet had not advised it, then the court stayed it, then for 1 day Rawat again became, Harish Rawat of Congress again became chief minister, then he was again dismissed, and again 3 weeks president's rule came in, and after that the court asked for a trial of strength and Rawat got his power back. Rawat got his power back, but not for long, because within the next 10-11 months a fresh election took place. In that fresh election 2017, BJP won the majority, and Trivendra Singh Rawat, he is also called, his full name is Trivendra Singh Rawat Doiwala. So in fact, if you land in Dehradun, you are going towards the city from the airport. Doiwala is a place that you cross. That is where usually you are likely to get stuck with traffic, because that road's been under construction for a very long time. So he was made chief minister. Now he was somebody who reputedly was handpicked by Amit Shah. He is a former RSS pracharak. He was handpicked by Amit Shah so that he could then use him to cut through all the local factionalism and politics within his own party, where nobody could stand anybody else. So he was installed there, and he's lasted 4 years, but he's been having problems also. And the problems he's had are that earlier in 2019, RSS had made a representation against him to the party high command, saying he didn't listen to anybody, he was aloof, and also there were some insinuations of corruption. 2020, last year then, VHP, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, complained that he had allowed a private distillery to be set up in Dev Prayag, which is a holy place. So that was anathema to VHP, and they complained. But basically there was open season on him, and everybody knew that his days were numbered. Now in 2016, a local journalist, Umesh Kumar Sharma, had made an allegation against him that when he was in charge of Jharkhand for his party, for the BJP, he had somebody appointed as chairman of Gau Seva Ayog in Jharkhand through Jharkhand government, and that person had made a payment to some close relative of his, and this journalist claimed that he had the evidence of that payment, that money having come into his relative's account. So Rawat had moved in against that journalist. That journalist was also arrested. In 2020, the High Court, Uttarakhand High Court, again intervened. It quashed the case against the journalist, and it asked for a CBI inquiry against the chief minister. It so happened that soon enough, in October of 2020 itself, Supreme Court had stayed that inquiry. But still, it wasn't doing Trivendra Singh Rawat's image any good. Now the BJP has some insecurities in Uttarakhand. Why? Because next year elections coming up there, they don't want to lose it, obviously. Second, it's also that a lot of the Congress imports in the BJP may get impatient before the elections. So they also have to be assuaged, because these are small states with small cabinets. And even in this small cabinet, Trivendra Singh Rawat has kept a couple of positions vacant for more than 2 years. So you need to give people something to keep them happy. So BJP is the crisis mode in this place now. The second thing is that Aam Aadmi Party is making quite an energetic entry into Uttarakhand, and there is an older leader there, Mr. Satpal Maharaj, who's there, who also has a kind of spiritual following. He's been a minister at the center. He's also somebody who's trading at the leash and looking for options. So these are things that the BJP is worried about. Having said that, I will give you some more examples of how BJP, in spite of his vaunted discipline, has not been able to have its chief ministers last in the past. So there is Jharkhand, again a small state, bigger than Uttarakhand, but a small state. Baburlal Marandi, Arjun Munda, again Arjun Munda, then Raghubar Das, he completed 5 years. So succession of chief ministers in Jharkhand. The result is now that a Congress JMM coalition now is ruling Jharkhand. Similarly, if you look at Karnataka, in Karnataka, the only reason this chief minister is surviving, Yediyurappa, is because the BJP High Command doesn't have the strength in the state to get rid of him. In fact, if they could get rid of him, they would get rid of him yesterday. But they can't get rid of him because he has his own supporter base, his own voter base. And the last time they played games with him, he had broken away and he had taken away his vote bank also. So the BJP lost the state to Congress party for 5 full years. And even after that election, for some time, a Congress JDS coalition came into power. But before that, look at the number of chief ministers BJP had given that state in one term. There was, besides Yediyurappa twice, there was Sadanand Gowda, there was Jagdish Shettar. So this was a musical chair of chief minister. So once again, with all the RSS discipline, with all the supposed sentiment of selflessness and tyag, etc., BJP has struggled to keep political stability in its states. Under Modi and Shah, you would have thought that this trend will change, but Uttarakhand is one state that tells us it's not changing. And the second thing it tells us is that when defectors go to the BJP, they have to wait a very long time to get what they thought they would have got by defecting to the BJP. Vijay Bahuguna in this case is an example. There are other Congress defectors in this Uttarakhand government, and we gave you examples from elsewhere as well. Now, having said that, one more thing I'd like to say before I conclude. Sometimes you ask me to mention interesting books I have read. So I will talk about today an interesting book I haven't yet read, but I am looking forward to reading, and I have just ordered this on Amazon because this is a book that's released only today in the US, and it's a book sort of up my street in my areas of interest. It's called 2034, a novel of the next world war. This is written by Elliot Ackerman, who is a well-known writer, and Admiral James Stavridis. Now, Admiral James Stavridis is a former NATO chief, NATO commander-in-chief. If you read the print carefully, often, as I hope you do, and if you don't, please do that from today onwards, you will often find columns by Admiral Stavridis that we get from Bloomberg. He is among the finest writers on the global strategic affairs. He is also, besides being a great military commander in his own right, he is also a scholar soldier. So he's been dean of Fletcher School as well. So this is a book looking ahead and imagining a war breaking out, just following the theory of unintended consequences between the US and China in South China Sea. That is the area, and those are the issues we are talking about all the time. So this is a future gazing scenario in 2034, and as I wait for this reminds me of another similar book that was written by a British general in the past who had worked with NATO, General Sir John Hackett, who had written a book called Third World War, which foresaw a war breaking out between the Warsaw Pact and NATO and allied forces in Europe.